know that I'm like,
What's that?
so I was gonna let you know that I've seen the since Tom passed away, if you guys are like ever building something or like projects, feel free to give me a holler.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I know he used to build a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. He was a good guy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was a good guy. Okay. And this way out there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of stuff for Holly, do a lot of your stuff for veterans.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and whatnot,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
well, plus you've got a lot to take care of out there. It's not a small house.
No. I'm good, how are you? Oh, no, oh, sorry. Oh, Lord. I don't want you to go to heaven right now. Sorry.
Don't rip it up.
Come on back for a second.
I thought 100 times about calling you.
Well, I'll fix it. The seats are going fast. I'll save this. You need help with it.
Good evening. Good evening. Oh, you did?
To look over. I've never been to one.
Can't find it.
That just comes with fun and games.
You too, thanks for coming.
I guess. I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
Ross, and he's Marie, she was in here, and Marie was in there.
What a vacation, I feel like you just
It's not gonna change my world.
your poor wife.
Yeah. So you go to like the library?
I hope your room was okay.
How's Louis doing? Oh man, at what point does he get a certificate? So.
Hang on. I said, by the way.
She had one phone that she was feeding the fire, she got down from the ground down, she got two phones. She broke my
See my hand was hard. Here we go.
Right, well.
Alright. We'll call the meeting, February 11th, 2025, for Otisco Township regular board meeting, call to order. Vicki, if you will roll call, please.
Stephanie. Here. Joe.
Here.
Paula. Here. Rose.
Here.
And I'm here.
Okay. You stand for a prayer, please. Our Heavenly Father, we ask again your blessings on this meeting tonight. Give us the wisdom to make good decisions, the strength to make hard decisions, and the love for one another as you've intended for us. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just a quick point, our speaker, Linda from the Ione County Road Commission is running a little late tonight, she's gonna be here in just a minute or two. So when she comes in, she's gonna be seated and we'll get on with our program, so, our meeting. I need an approval of the agenda, please.
Motion to approve the agenda as it's written.
For a second,
I'll second.
okay, it's been moved by Joan, seconded by Vicky to approve the agenda. Do we wanna add the,
Yes.
okay, under new business, which will be F,
Yes, I forgot.
and that is the
Annex.
exemption.
Yes. Resolution for the Erie Township Annex. For our payroll.
Yes.
I've got a question.
I don't see the agenda.
Here you go.
Are we just reschedule the HVAC meeting?
Take one.
Yes, when we get to it.
Huh?
When we get to it.
Okay.
No.
To bring the motion back. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to redo your motion, please?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll redo my motion on, February 11th, 2025 agenda. I now approve the agenda as it's, with the change of,
Letter F.
The addition.
the addition to the minutes for the
And
agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? If none, Vicky,
I'll second. Okay, roll call.
please.
Okay, Stephanie? Yes. Joe?
Yes.
Paula? Yes. Bruce?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. 5-0.
Okay, I welcome everybody tonight, first of all. We've got time now for public comment before the meeting, if anyone has a comment, concern.
Hi, Kara Johnson.
Hi, Kara.
I have two, actually. First one is, I went online, looking for meeting minutes for the budget sessions. The only thing I saw was board meetings. Where are those meeting minutes at?
They're posted
Where?
on the website.
Can you tell me where? I looked under government, it said board meeting minutes, but there's nothing for the budget meeting minutes.
Well, I have to look into it.
Val brought those up yesterday on my computer, but I didn't watch how he did it. I know they're posted.
Okay, because I looked and I clicked and I even went back and I looked.
I'll look into that, Kara, but it's my understanding that we didn't have to post budget meeting minutes, but I could be wrong, but I'll look into it.
Last
for
time,
you.
any time that you guys convened and had a meeting, it's public, and the meetings are public as well, and they still follow the same statute as when they need to be put out.
Okay.
I'm gonna check before I go on.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I would like to have a copy of
Sure.
those. And secondly, on here, it states, treasurer's report in board members' packet. The money that you guys handle is our money. It's our taxpayers' money. And I understand that you guys need to have a copy of it, but I've asked in the past for copies only to have to FOIA, to have to pay for it. I don't understand why I have to pay my money twice to get a copy of a treasurer's report. Is there any way possible that maybe at the next meeting, we used to do it quarterly, and I think by law, actually it is, and we'd set it out here and make copies and was never in question. You got to see where the bank accounts were. I mean, for all transparency purposes, we're just supposed to believe you guys what's in the bank accounts as of right now. Numbers you throw out in the budget, but we never see any real copies of that.
Okay,
Please maybe get that on the agenda or out for us to be able to see.
as you know, I'm new,
Yes.
but I
Yep.
will, put it on my list, and if there's anything I can do about it, I'll process it and see if it gets done.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
No problem. Anybody else? Mr. Morris?
We're good.
Okay. If not, we'll move on now. We need to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting of January 14th, 2025, and the budget meeting of 2025. We both up here, everyone should have a copy in their packet. If there is any questions or comments on either one. If not, if I could have a motion to approve the regular one, and then the second one, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 14th, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Paul, Paula to accept and seconded by Stephanie. Any other discussion? If not, Vicky?
Joe?
Yes.
Paula? Yes. Bruce?
Yes.
I'm a yes, and Stephanie? Yes.
All right, then the budget meeting on February 3rd. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve February 3rd, 2025. Budget meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, Vicky?
Paula? Yes. Bruce?
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie? Yes. Joe?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Okay, approval of the tables, the payroll and transfers, which you should have in your packet. I hope you've had a chance to look over. Any comments? Or concerns or questions? If not, I'll have a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the payables.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and by Paula, seconded by Stephanie rather, to accept the payables and such. Is there any other discussion? If not, Vicky?
Paula? Yes. Bruce?
Yes.
Vicky, yes. Stephanie? Yes.
Okay, then the treasurer's report.
Now payroll.
I'm sorry.
Payroll.
Or, excuse me, I'm sorry, payroll. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve payroll.
It's been moved to second.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Paula to approve the payroll and seconded by Vicky. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last I knew, and I might be, without knowing all the facts, the trustees should be paid the same.
Stephanie had a ZBA meeting. So she got ZBA pay as well as her normal wage.
I thought I should have a finance commission meeting too. And they were not, it's usually never 400. But, oh, well, already start. Yeah.
I know the reports are different on that. That's because we're new. How long can we use that? I'll look into it, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, Vicky?
And Bruce?
Yes.
Me, yes. Stephanie? Yes. Joe?
Yes.
Paul? Yes.
The transfers, do we have them? Okay, all right. All right, now we'll go on then to the treasurer's report, which you should have, everyone should have a copy in their packet. Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Is there a second? All right, any other discussion? If not, Vicky?
Bailey, yes. Stephanie?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes. Okay. Now we'll get on to our reports. And first up is from Joe.
So I don't want to beat you to it. So for the month of January, we had 27 calls for service, 6 crashes per day, and only 3 criminal complaints. I would say with the upcoming snowstorm, stay home if you don't have to go anywhere. We're pulling people out of the ditch.
And the deceased person, that was just a natural death?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions for Joe? Thank you, Deputy. Our assessor's report, Sally's submitted here. She's got 18 items on here. I know she has been extremely busy. Any questions? Okay, Joe.
No meeting last Wednesday.
Okay. Stephanie.
No meeting.
Okay, then next is the zoning administrator's report by Larry Mercer, which is 2 pages here, which he submitted. This was on the area, I'll go over it. Any questions over Larry's work? Okay. Moving on, our update for our new sign, I talked with Colin, the gentleman that I was dealing with, has been sick with norovirus for 2 weeks, but I finally got through to him. We had to send him a copy of our sales tax exemption certificate, and now I'm working with Gabriella, who is getting the permit from the county, which is an ordeal in itself, but anyway, the bottom line is it should be in process and delivered sometime to mid to late April. So. Which brings us to new business, and tonight we have Linda.
Hey, you.
Linda is the Ione County Road Commissioners Department Manager. As last month, just to kind of give people up to date, anytime we have a contract, anytime in my personal life or professional life, when I had a contract worth $100,000, whether it was the vault company, the cemetery, casket company, we always met at least once a year, and most of the times I met twice a year. The reason being is it's a tremendous amount of money. I want to know their perspective on things. I want them to know my perspective on things, and the same thing with the township. We learned a lot from Tim, the fire chief, the other day. I don't think anybody in this room knew that Steve Brechting had allowed the fire department to train in their migrant camp for training there for house fires. And then Don and Jason Hopkins have given the use of their grain bins to do emergencies in case someone gets a grain bin collapse. So it's important to have relationships. I want, like Linda, and the same thing with Tim, when we call, I want them to say, oh, it's Otisco Township, how can I help you? I don't want them to say, oh God, it's Otisco Township, what do they want? So Linda's gonna, you're welcome to speak where you are, Linda, if you wanna use the podium to kind of give us a background on things, and
I'll just,
I wanna give her a welcome.
I'll just try to get where people can see me. I'm here to answer questions. I can tell you briefly what's going on with the department, which is the snowstorm tomorrow night. And again, I second that motion to stay home if you don't have to get out on the roads. Because I suspect we'll be busy plowing snow, and it's easier if we don't have Just a quick update, when we get a storm like this, our crews are broken down into two groups, an A team and a B team. The A team works the trunk lines, which is the interstate, and any road that starts with an M, like M44. Our B team takes care of all the other county blacktops and our gravel roads. The A team gets called in first because we're under contract with Michigan Department of Transportation to maintain the trunk lines. They don't plow them or take care of them with their own, what they call direct forces, their own garages. We take care of it and they reimburse us for it. So we're required on the Interstate 96 to have it snow-free if at all possible, no snow on it. On M44, M21, M66, two-wheel tracks when we get a big storm. So we'll probably call the 18 guys out Thursday morning. Actually, if the storm does hit tomorrow night, then we will probably work through until 11 p.m. From when the storm starts, then we will send the A team home. We have to give people 8 hours. If they work 16 hours, we've got to give them 8 hours to sleep. So we're going to time it so one team goes home and the other team can be brought in to take care of the trunk line first, because our first priority is take care of where the most traffic is. Once we've got that plowed, treated, then we'll start to work on our blacktops. Gravel roads come last. Again, it's most traffic, get it taken care of so people who can get out can get to where they're headed, and then we start to spread out and take care of the gravel roads. On the gravel roads, or even on some of our blacktops, where we've got a lot of ag, open fields, we're gonna get some drifting, because it's probably gonna be fairly dry snow. We aren't thinking it's gonna be wet and heavy. So that means we will have drifting. I think I saw maybe 30-mile-an-hour gusts of winds, and I thought it was gonna come out of the northeast initially. So drifting on the blacktops, we try to keep it so it's not crossing the road to where when you hit it, you're gonna feel it. But if it's cold enough, it's gonna blow across. We're not gonna put salt on if it's blowing across, because if we put salt on, then we make it wet, and then if we get flash freezing, we've got ice that you're gonna get. So that's kind of our philosophy. Once we get to where we need to be treating, then we're gonna probably do 50-50, and that's 50% sleet sand, 50% salt. We put the sand down to give you some traction if you're on ice. So, again, if we get a lot of snow though, and they're saying it may come down an inch an hour, we're not gonna put something down because it's just gonna get covered up. Just like last winter, I think it was February, when we had that flash storm about 6 a.m. It was coming down at least an inch an hour. We had already treated M66, the hill, and 21, the hill. It got covered in snow and hit a car sideways. So that's kind of the plan for tomorrow morning, for tomorrow night and the Thursday morning. And with that, I will entertain questions.
But if you could, just a couple things. We met, Linda and I met last week for an hour and 15, 20 minutes. Can you just touch base on a couple, 3 things? Just the condition of the 5 bridges, we went over that. And then if you could just lightly touch on our upcoming contracts, if you're comfortable.
Okay, sure. Okay, every January or early February, we meet with each township supervisor. And our goal there is to hear what you have as a township in terms of things you might want done or concerns you have about the roads. Then we share back. We try to have the contracts in place for gravel, and have a contract in place for brine, and a contract in place for what we call our grade all agreement. So there's 3 things that we present to your township supervisor or any of the trustees that want to come and attend at the same time. One is a contract and a map. Our drivers suggest where they think the gravel roads need gravel, but then again it comes back to the township to make that decision on where do you think the gravel needs to go. We also, and our gravel contract has been extended again, same price, so no price increases. This will be a 3rd year with no price increase. Brine contract, we were unhappy with the services we had on brine last year. Some of the roads looked like tiger stripes. Some of them had a boatload dumped in one spot, and it was slippery and greasy and slop. So we went back out for bid. Years ago, prior to COVID, S&M Tire had that contract, and we were very happy with them. During during COVID, they could not get enough drivers, they weren't able to meet our needs. We went out for bid, Corrigan got it. We've not been happy with Corrigan. The equipment they're using isn't really spreading the brine effectively. So, went out for bid, S&M Tire has a contract again. And the prices they bid are just, in some cases, a half cent, some cases a couple of cents less than what it was with Corrigan. So a slight price decrease. Then we have what we call a grade all agreement. And grade all, some of you know, I didn't have a clue, is a machine, and you think like a large excavator where they can dig, that's what we ditch with. So that we pretty much, it can go up and down, boom. You can swing it this way, you can go down. The bucket on it, we can tilt the bucket this way or that way, and that's why it's great for ditching. So a grade all agreement is if we get a real gully washer of a rainstorm, sometimes we've seen where culverts, under road culverts, will actually wash out, or we'll get a piece of the road, gravel road that will actually wash out. Or if you get water running across the road. So what we do is we sign ask for a contract, and it's $3,000, that we would not have to come to you and wait for a board meeting where you could approve paying for a culvert. And basically on culverts, townships on the local roads do help pay for those costs. We take care of all the ditching, the placing, that kind of thing, but the townships do pay for the culvert. So this $3,000 contract, if we have a washout, we can come in and take care of that, and know it's going to be reimbursed. If at the end of the year, we've not needed to do that, that money we never charge for, or you could use it on something you want taken care of. Maybe you think you want a culvert put in someplace, that would, or you want to something ditched on a local road. And for those who don't know, there's really two kinds of roads. Back in about 1951, the state passed a law that basically said, county, I want you to identify all of the primary roads. And what constituted a primary road was up to the county to determine. It's pretty much based on traffic. It wasn't whether it was paved or gravel, it was more traffic based. And they said that will now become the county primary road system. A bit later, they said, townships, local roads, we're going to take and give them to the county. We're going to take it away from the townships maintaining and having their own road crews. Those will be called the local road system. They also at that point said, we're not going to give you, the townships, any more Act 51 money. And that amounts pretty much to the Michigan Transportation Fund. And they said, we're going to give that to the county, so now county, it's up to you to maintain the primary roads and the local roads. That leaves the sense that if you don't get the money, you don't pay for the roads. And that is totally what I believe. However, the act also had a section in it that said townships, if you want your roads maintained at a better level than what the county can with the money we're giving them, you can do 3 mills, up to 3 mills, for that you township could say, I want the county to spend on my roads. Or your boards are allowed to put to a vote the millage. Some townships do have road millages, others don't. So that's kind of the funding. This Michigan Transportation Fund, and those are the 3 contracts that Bruce is talking about. So those, at Michigan Transportation Fund, we get about $10 million a year for that. For the state maintaining the trunk lines, we get about $2.5 million. Our payroll, which is our wages, their insurances, pension, that kind of thing, runs about $5 to $6 million a year, and that includes all the overtime. It also includes the fact that the road commission, it's my understanding in 2019, I was not with the county at that point in time, had a $12 million deficit in their pension fund. And the state basically told the county, you either have to do something about it, or we're gonna have to do something. So at that point, the County Board of Commissioners said our pension fund at the county was fully funded. If we were to take the road commission and their pension, merge the two, we could get the road commission out of intensive care, so to speak, where the state was looking at, we're gonna have to do something about the road commission. So when they did that, that brought the county funded piece of their retirement system down, but it didn't put them in intensive care. And it brought the road department up, road commission up, and got it out of intensive care. So that's when the road commission ceased to exist and we became a department. So what we're trying to do is pay down that $12 million deficit that got this whole thing started. So we're putting an extra $1 million a year into that pension fund to try and get rid of that deficit. So of our $10 million, $1 million is definitely going to try and get rid of that deficit every year. And then there's the regular pension contribution. So in a nutshell, we have about $10 million. You guys have the option if you want to have a millage. And
Which we do.
Yep. I know that North Plains did, but it did not get renewed this past year. They're in a position where they're not going to be able to probably put any brine on their roads at all this year. That's how tight their finances are. So we, at the road department and at the county level, really appreciate the townships who do put a millage on and help cover the cost of the roads. That $10 million doesn't go very far.
You have a county millage too, right?
Yes, and that millage language said, and I did not write it, but it has said since it was first put in place and to the vote of the public is for the primary roads and bridges, no local. I would think if we go again, I would propose, I'm not final say on it, but I would propose that it could be used on both primary and local roads.
So that's
And
on top of the
bridges.
10 million that you're talking about.
Yep, so we get 10 million in Michigan transportation funds. 5 to 6 goes for labor, fringe benefits, paying off that deficit. The other 5 million then we use on the roads and the bridges. We get about $1.6 million in the county millage for primary roads and bridges. And then the $2.5 million from the trunk line has to be, we have to bill them for when our trucks are on any of the trunk line roads. And so that's how we get that $2.5 million gets spent. There was a little bit of it left. The state's on a fiscal year that ends September 30th. There was about $150,000 of that left. I want to say the first part of September, and they wanted to get it spent. So you may have noticed on 66 that the road was closed on a Saturday, or one lane was closed. There was a dip there, and they came in and we did something called skip paving. And they did the same thing in the city of Ionia, M21. We did some skip paving there, and that used up that money. Then we also get things from the state called TWA's, Transportation Work Authorizations. With 96 and what's going on 96, it's going to be torn up this year and next year. They said we're going to have to route, they don't call it a detour, they call it an alternate route. I call it a detour, it's simpler. People are going to be on Grand River. And they said, we know you're going to have a lot of people on Grand River, so we've got $900,000 we will give you to fix Grand River to handle the extra trucks and weight and beating that it's going to take. So what we did is we did an overlay on that of about 1.5 inches blacktop to try and beef that road up so it can handle all of the traffic. Then we put a chip seal on top of it to seal it down as best we could. And it gave a little more traction too. 25, 26 is going to be from Bliss Road, and they're going to get to just east of the way station on 96. They will be, they call it a zipper, I have no idea, but they basically are going to route you over to the other side of the road and close one section because they're going to tear it up. It's concrete, they're going to tear it up. And then they are going to, they call it fresh and shape, basically reshape that road, and then they're going to put down asphalt. And half will get done this year, the other half will get done in 26. Then in 27, they are going to tear the M66 toe up. And it's going to go from Burger King and Ionia. There's a sinkhole there that you don't really notice, but we've been putting skip paving, basically asphalt on that for 15 or 20 years. When they bored down to see how far that was, they think there's about 20 feet of asphalt there. There is a sinkhole there and it just kind of just keeps disappearing. So they're gonna try and do something they call bridging. And I'm not an engineer, I don't understand, but they bridge across it with something so that hopefully it won't continue to sink anymore. And then on the 66 hill, we have a lady in a motorized wheelchair with a little dog, and she goes up and down that hill in the traffic in that motorized wheelchair. We've been going on for years. Fortunately, nobody has ever hit her. We've also got kids that try to go up on bikes from people who walk up and down. That's gonna get changed. We're applying for a grant to try, MDOT's gonna tear the hill up, repave. They haven't decided yet if it's gonna be 2 lanes up and 1 lane down, if it's gonna be 1 lane up, 1 lane down, and a turn lane, but they're gonna change it. As part of that, we got the people who live on the east side to grant additional easements that they can, as opposed to put a shoulder on it, they're gonna put shoulder, and then there'll be a little bit of grass, and we're gonna end up with about 10 feet, and we're applying for a grant to put a path on it. And when we get to, it's gonna go up to the Schwartz Court. If we can get beyond that, we're putting in as part of the plan that someday we would have a safe route to school grant that would let us take it on up to Tuttle and around to the schools. Otherwise, it's gonna come down to, from Schwartz Court down to the bridge and across the bridge to connect with the other trail that's on the other side of the bridge. And that's happening the summer of '27. Yes?
Doesn't that gravel road right there at the bottom of the hill go up to the top of the hill also?
Are you talking Harwood Road that's, to the west on Riverside? Oh, no, you're talking Bellevue.
Yeah,
Yeah, Bellevue goes out and then it curves and comes back and hits 66 again up by the church.
why not put a path up that instead of up the main road?
We probably can't get a grant to do that. MDOT Act 51 has a section in it that talks about non-motorized paths. And in doing this, the earth moving and everything to create that path, MDOT's taking care of the earth moving and creating the space for the path. You have to say that you're connecting to things in order to get the grant for that. So if we were to do Bellevue, we're leaving 66 and we're reconnecting with 66. There's not a destination or a hookup to another path. By coming down 66 and coming across Riverside down to the bridge, there's a sidewalk on the bridge that connects to the other path. So it's a matter of how do you apply, how can you do things in a way that you can get federal funds and a grant?
You can go from the bridge to the bottom of the hill, but you can't go from the bridge to the end of Bellevue and then just sneak the back way up.
Bellevue goes no place. We be coming right back out onto 66.
On top of the hill.
But what we want is, we want to do the safe path to school.
Yeah.
The other thing is that Bellevue is a very narrow dirt road, and it's got drop-offs on both sides. We would have to do a whole lot of excavation ourselves or contract for it, and it would increase the cost of the path. We don't think we can get enough money to do that. We think we can get a grant that will fund going up the hill. And the people who live on the east side are willing to grant an additional easement. So we don't have to go buy any additional easement. And the rest of the story is, you can only do that path if somebody's gonna pay to maintain it, meaning keep it clear of snow in winter. Otisco Township has stepped up and said they will take care of the maintenance of that path. So, it's multiple units of government working together, agreeing to do this, and what's the most expeditious way to get funding, and that's what we're hoping for. We do not have a grant yet, but that is what we are applying for. Yes?
On our road, on County Avenue, the culvert that was there was put up, a temporary cap was put over it when I got home with it. And I wondered, you were talking about bridges, I just now what's under it is the railroad car type thing. And is that also somewhere in your list of things to culverts on roads that, to improve that, that's over Celia Creek?
Okay, and that one, is that, on Montcalm Road, is that the one that's basically the county line that runs between us and Montcalm County? I I apologize, I do not have memorized. When you've got a road that divides two counties, it doesn't make sense for the guy on the south side to plow that side of the road and the guy on the north side to plow that side of the road, because you're gonna have a ridge in the middle. So what's been agreed to by the road commission is the south county will do from this road to this road, the other county will do from that road to that road. And I'm not sure on Sealy which one, is that Montcalm County or us?
So they also maintain the culverts across underneath.
Unless it's county drain.
Excuse me. That's 7 Mile is, south of 7 Mile is us, north is Kent County.
North or Montcalm
No.
County?
North of
Kent
7
County
Mile.
is, Kent County is,
South of
west,
44.
and Montcalm, or Ionia County is east of Montcalm.
I know, but who takes care of the roads?
No,
It's
no.
7 Mile is the dividing.
If I had,
7 Mile is the dividing line,
And
and that is, Human Creek is north, and that's Kent.
So you would.
Okay, so if it's them,
Yeah, Tony?
whoever maintains that section of the road does take care of culverts. Yes, whoever maintains that section of the road takes care of that.
I actually thought that they took care of the south part because it's got limestone now.
Okay, what I'm gonna say is, I apologize, I didn't bring the county road map with me so I can tell which counties maintain which. I can tell you this, if it's our county's responsibility to maintain that section of road, we will do something about the culvert. If it's another county, then they would take care of it.
Linda, I'm sorry, I want to, two things that we touched base, just about our bridges, and then the important factor is the intersection that's getting rebuilt at, Crop.
And Zan.
That's what I was gonna ask about, and the shoe tree specifically, because I heard that.
Okay, let's do bridges first.
Should be very important.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Let's do bridges first. We've got the bridge inspection reports, they were done in October. We have 67 bridges in Ionia County. Bridges by law have to be inspected every 2 years. So a company that is authorized, certified, licensed to do bridge inspections, they do half the bridges 1 year, the next year they do the other half, so they're on a rotating basis. Half the bridges were inspected last year, but we do have a report on what needs to be done on all the bridges. Some of the work we can do, some of the work we have to hire because we don't have the equipment or the skill set. Like if they say we gotta put a waterproof membrane on or an epoxy overcoat, we don't have the equipment to do that. So we are getting a cost estimate on all of the bridges in terms of how much will it cost to have contractors come in and repair them. I do not have that, I hope to have that within a month, at which time we will present it back. Our goal is, in the future, to have it before we meet with the township supervisor so that it can be discussed at that meeting. In terms of road commission policy, which the county commissioners adopted the existing contracts and policies. The existing policy says on bridges, it doesn't matter if it's on a primary road or a local road, the policy says the county pays for half of the cost of maintaining and the townships pay for half. And that has been that way since that policy, it was, the last time I checked, I want to say it was 2003 when that policy was revised and adopted. So it's been a long time that that's the way it's been. I can say that from all I can see, we have not been taking care of our bridges. We've been doing the work our crew can do, which is cut brush, throw it on some riprap, that kind of thing. But we've not been hiring contractors to come in and do the work that needs to be done to repair them. I think of a bridge like the roof on a barn. If you let that roof go, the barn's gonna collapse. If you've got doors off that barn, you're letting the wind rip through, you're gonna lose that barn sooner or later. So what it comes down to is, I'm saying we need to prioritize and get caught up on repairing our bridges. So we will have cost estimates on that. Bruce does have the bridge report. I think all the bridges in
Right
this
here.
township have, they had a little traffic signal on the front of the report, red. green,
They're all green.
which means it doesn't mean there isn't stuff we can do to repair, it means they're in good shape. When a bridge gets, inspected and it gets to the point where they're saying you gotta put road restrictions on, that's gonna go to either yellow or a red. I can tell you that on, Bell Road Bridge, we had to close that in 2019. We were asking for money because we cannot afford to replace a bridge. We were asking for money 2 years before that. We finally got the money, and Bell Road Bridge construction may start this fall, possibly, otherwise it will all occur next year. We've got a bridge that is load restricted. We applied for funding, that's being replaced in 2027. And then we've got Gordon Road over Prairie Creek, and we have money that will be done this fall or next summer. So bridges are expensive. Cutler Road Bridge, when we put in the estimate, the request for funding was $2 million. When it finished, it was $4.2 million. Costs of bridges are doubling. We can't afford to let our bridges fall down. So that's why I'm saying we're gonna put some money into repairing those bridges, and I'm in hopes that our townships will help us with that, in terms of, and we will put it out for bid and try to get a good price on it. I think we got 2 bridges repaired this last year, one in Easton Township and the other one I think was in Berlin Township. North Plains did not have the money and that one did not get done. So then, that takes care of bridges. The next thing is.
Last thing is just Krupp and Zam.
Okay.
Please.
There's something called federal aid eligible roads. I've looked, and there's not any one definitive place you can go, and it says, in order to be a federal aid eligible road, it's gotta be painted with purple paint and, have no curves in it. You can't find anything that says this is a criteria. But if you look around enough, you get the sense that it's based on what kind of a road is it, and then some other criteria like traffic counts and that kind of thing. If a road is federal aid eligible, there's something called the Rural Task Force. Roads have got more acronyms and committees and ins and outs than one can begin to count. And when it comes to federal programs, there's more acronyms than you can shake a stick at. But the long and short of it is this Rural Task Force money, we get $1 million a year in Ionia County. And that is federal money, and what that means is that Michigan Department of Transportation actually lets those contracts, meaning they put out the RFP and get the companies hired. In order to do that, it's got to be federal aid eligible, or you're fixing a safety project. If we can get that federal money will pay for 80% of the construction, and we, the county and the townships, only have to pay 20% of the construction. The upfront cost, the design for fixing it, doing whatever needs to be done, and it's got elevations and it's got soil borings, and are there any endangered species? Are there trees that need to be cut, and they've got to be cut in a certain season because there's blight? All that kind of stuff has to be done before MDOT will approve the project and put the RFP out to hire people to fix it. One of the things that we're going to have roads that are federal aid eligible, so we can apply for that federal funding, is you can't have safety problems. We've got 3 intersections this year that we're trying to fix. One is Morrison Lake at Grand River, Charlotte Highway, and then Zam and Krupp, where as opposed to being T's, they're Y's. So in order to see, when you're trying to get out, you're getting kind of out in that lane in order to see clear distance. So we're trying to square those intersections up, and those are safety grants. So with it being a safety grant, with MDOT and federal money being involved, what they do is they say anything that's in the right-of-way that is deemed to be a safety concern must go. They also say how wide shoulders have to be, how wide the lanes have to be, how much of a ditch slope you can have, or you've gotta put up guardrail. So in order to get this grant, to fix this intersection and get rid of what's deemed to be a safety concern, MDOT said that tree's got to go. The shoe tree. And they said, what's more, it's an oak tree. And what's more, we think there's bats in it. And because there's bats in it, you've got to get it cut before April 14th. And so they said, we are not gonna be able to get the RFPs, the request for proposals, out in time to get somebody to cut down that tree because of the bats. It's gotta go before this date. So they looked at us and said, Ionia County, you need to get that tree out of there or you're not gonna get this federal money. So that's why the shoe tree. Because we think there might be some shoes, boots with steel toes, we don't think it will do well going through our chipper. So, we've contracted with a company who's going to come in. We talked to the property owner who owns adjacent to that right away. He says, I don't want the wood. So we contracted with a company. They're gonna come in. It's $5,700, but they're gonna cut it down to a 3-inch stump and take it and the shoes away. And so that's why the shoe tree has to come down. MDOT said, it's fine to leave that stump 3 inches, nobody should hit it and get in an accident. We can, when we let the contract to fix the intersection, we'll also get somebody, a company to come in and grind that stump out. So that's the deal on the shoe tree.
What exactly is that tree hurting?
Yeah,
It's too close to the road.
no, it's just jamming up from getting the money.
Pardon?
It's just kind of jamming up the process of getting the money, because the MDOT's making that stipulation.
The feds are saying it, not MDOT, and it's based on
Or
federal
that's what I
record.
meant.
Yeah.
How many
Feds,
people
how
have ever hit
close-
that tree?
It doesn't meet the model.
How many people have ever hit that tree?
It doesn't matter. They say you've gotta have a right of way that's clear of obstruction.
Is it historical?
They
You wrap that around there with the shoes.
And they'll
Get your
give you
shoes
a
up there from
model. To
early
give you
1900s.
You gotta meet that
I don't think
model.
that's.
They want the money. to get it.
It's not so much a safety thing now, but when the road
I
becomes
know.
a T,
That's
then it's so close.
bureaucracy works.
Right, that's what I'm guessing.
Her
It really
hands are
comes
tied,
down
it's the feds saying that you gotta do this in order for you to get this money, period.
When will that project be started, Linda?
We've let the contract, the board approved the contract this afternoon, so we'll be contacting them
That's a funny
tomorrow.
place to live.
And it's got to be done before April 14th. We've asked them if they can get it done before March 31st, and it will be weather dependent.
And how much distance to the two roads will you be repaving approximately, please?
I'm trying to think back to the design. It's not all that far, and some of it has to, we'll pave as far as we can on Sam. But it really comes down to, when MDOT does those contracts, how far can they pave the amount of money
I
they got
wasn't
from the
paying
feds.
attention to this. Looks like big huge.
So that'll be started soon, if it's
Two
April
French
14th.
I think.
The tree will be out before April 14th. We've asked contractor to have to have it out by March 31st.
How many trees on ZAM are you gonna cut?
We're only cutting in that project area.
Isn't it to city limits?
No, this project is that intersection.
I thought we were gonna get blacktop this summer.
We took a look at ZAM, and basically it is in the condition where doing an overlay on it is going to be throwing money down the rabbit hole. It's that far gone, all those dips.
All those dips are more dangerous than that intersection. Those should be fixed before the intersection.
But they're
We can't
getting
get
federal
federal money
money.
to fix that road. So what it
I
comes down
get the
to,
federal money, but those dips are more dangerous because they damn near throw my truck in a ditch every time I go down my road.
That's just your driving, Jeff.
Jeff, I understand, but we're not gonna browbeat this woman over federal
Yeah.
policies.
Yeah.
She runs the road, it's her responsibility, I agree with you, and one of my goals, as long as I'm here, is to somehow, some way, shape, or form, fix Zam Road before someone gets killed on it. But that's not what we're talking about, I agree with you, but that's not Linda's responsibility, I'm not gonna browbeat her or let anybody else browbeat her tonight. It's stupid, cutting that tree is stupid, but the parameters which the woman lives in. So, I'm gonna move this along, because Linda's on her own dime here, and I appreciate her coming, I think it's important, and we'll,
But I'm here to serve. Ionia County Road Department is here to serve you guys. We try to take care of the entire county. I hear you on those dips. We have talked about, can we, what's called skip pay, which is come in and where that dip is, do like MDOT did on M66 and M21, where you've got a sinking, come in and it's a temporary fix. It's not fixing the whole road. To fix Dam Road, and I'll get to you in just 1 minute, we've got to do a crush and shape. And what that amounts to is you basically tear the road up and get that foundation of the road reestablished to where when you pave, it's not going to collapse or dip on you. The other thing that makes the road really dangerous is what's called wheel rutting. If you go over on Divine Highway, where the wheels of the car go, there's dips, and it holds water and it'll ice. Those will grab a vehicle and jerk it. They're dangerous too. We have a lot of situations in this county that we need to fix. What I'm proposing is there's something called a Kaiser rating, and what it is you basically drive the roads and you identify those dips, you identify cracks. If you get what's called alligator, which is where you've got a whole bunch of little cracks in the road, especially along the shoulder, that's a sign that your road is failing. So you grade every road based on that. Then I would propose traffic counts. Where is the most traffic? Take care of those roads first, get them fixed first, and then move on to the next one. This is not gonna get done the next year or two. We can try and put Band-Aids on wherever we can, but it really comes down to the money that we're getting is not sufficient to do what needs to be done on all the roads. That again is where the township's having the millage helps take care of and keep them from getting worse. My goal is gonna be keep the roads from deteriorating further, but I don't think I can meet that goal with the money that we have. We're gonna do the best we can, and we'll put Band-Aids on wherever we can. But we're not gonna throw good money after bad money when it comes to Zam Road and put an overlay on it because the road is too far gone. There's too many places where the road bed is no longer stable, and we would just be wasting your money. It might last 2 or 3 years, and we'll be right back where we are right now. We're not gonna propose doing that because it's not a good use of money.
Is there a paper study that's done every year in Iowa County?
We used to get copies of that. That was one year, maybe Bruce or somebody would put it on the website so that we could see that.
Let me ask the question, answer the question first. You asked, were they done every year? They should have been done every year. They were not done last year.
Why were they not done?
I can't answer.
I'm not trying to, I'm just kind of curious.
I came in November of '23, and at that point, I had no road supervisors, I had no accountant, and I had no permit agent. It was November 7th.
What about all the other data that was collected before?
That's old data, and you've gotta do it every year because the roads change every year.
Every year?
So we've got old ones, but it's
But
not.
with my, something I mean, like showing the,
There's another thing Act 51 requires. It requires that every culvert in the county, we have to inventory it and put it on the map. And we have to rate them, what condition are they in. And then I have to explain on roads, bridges, culverts, and guardrail. How am I going to set a goal, first set a goal, do I want 60% of the roads to be good and 47 to be crap? Now, how am I gonna pay to get 60% up to that good condition? And I have to show with that $10 million, how are we gonna get it done? To the extent I can't meet those goals, then the state starts to look at us and say you're doing something wrong. So we also show what's unfunded in terms of what we'd like to do, but we have to make progress on those goals every year. We don't have a single solitary culvert inventoried in the mapping system. Our goal is in 6 weeks, we will have all culverts in the inventory mapping system, and we will also have rated their condition. We're trying to do guardrail at the same time, but I don't know if we'll be there. Kaiser ratings will all get done before this calendar year is over. I've got 2 people who are now certified to be able to do that, and we will get it done.
oh, so we're gonna do it in-house?
We've got 2 people on
Good.
staff that are certified, they did the classes online, they're certified, and they will go out, and it will get done.
James, do you have a question?
Yeah, it's about that intersection progress. There's 2 things I didn't hear about. How long is this project gonna take? And what are you gonna do with the overflow of traffic? Because at this point, the only way I see about coming from Ionia to Belden, if you close that intersection, we'd be going down Holly Highway. You're saying Zam Road's gonna get redone the whole way. So I'm proposing, well, not some of it will be eventually. So preactively, you're gonna go down Holly Highway, which is a gravel road. With this federal money, can you put like a limestone base or something down? And also with that being said, what's the county gonna do about all that dust control with everybody who lives from Holly Highway all the way up to Palmer? Because that's where everyone's gonna drive. And they're not gonna go 40 miles an hour. They're gonna go 67 miles an hour. That's gonna cause a lot of dust for everybody who lives through there.
What we did last year when the David Highway Bridge was torn up and the road was closed, it was gonna happen during the summer, it was gonna happen when the farmers were trying to get crops in the field, and in some cases get some stuff out of the fields. So what we did, the county did, is we paid to have extra brine put on those roads.
But you're not gonna beef it up at all, because it could help you out when the Zam Road gets closed down to get all redone if you beef that road up now.
Holly Highway, we have 2 other projects going on this summer. One is something called Small Urban, and that's federal funding again, and that goes from the Kiefer Highway, Grand River, from Kiefer to the west city limits of Portland, and that's going to be a repaving on that. We hope that can be done in 2 days. The other project we have, and again, it's a safety project, is a piece of Holly Highway, and I want to say it goes from center line, and I can't remember the other end point.
Potter's Road. Potter's.
Possible, yes. And it will be a crush and shape. So we're tearing that up and putting in, and it will be in accord with federal regulations, which means the shoulders have to be widened. There have to be, I think we have to have some big ditching going on, some culvert work, that kind of thing. So that project was going to be much longer than it is going to be, because the prices have changed so dramatically since we applied for the federal funding. We only have enough to do a smaller piece. On Zam Road, that intersection, how far we can pave in each direction is dependent on the prices when MDOT puts out the bid. And again, Holly Highway, MDOT, that is a safety project, federal money, MDOT lets that contract.
I think on the upcoming work, it shows that the plan was to go from Jacoby to the city limits for this year.
It was initially,
Okay,
but it was to do a double chip seal.
okay.
And a chip seal will seal the road. It does not improve the structural
it would be a
integrity of
waste
the
of money.
road, and it was going to be a waste of money. There was a possibility to come in and skip pave in those dips, but it's still a waste of money because the road is too far gone. And we did have engineers reevaluate it this spring to make sure that was in fact correct. So we are going to do some chip seal on Long Lake Road because that was more recently paved, and we want to preserve what was more recently paved, so we are going to chip seal some of that.
Has Ionia County tried to reuse some of these millings and mix it with gravel like Cat County's tried? And they're having great success with it.
We've not seen those test results. We do meet with the other counties, and we do talk about what has or has not been successful in testing things. The state also has what they call test projects to see if there are better ways to do something. Before I answer another question, though, I've got to make a comment, which is limestone. I've heard somebody mention limestone. Limestone, depending on what kind of traffic you have, if you're going to have heavy ag tractors, hauling dirt on their tires up onto the road, or a lot of manure, it's a bit of a problem. But limestone, we can come in, we can ditch, we can get the trees so our ditches flow freely. Put on limestone, we put down a 6-inch layer of limestone. That, depending on the traffic, is going to last 7 to 10 years. If it gets a hole in it, it's not going to be like on a gravel road where it's kind of a bowl. It is sharp edges. But all we got to do is we got a stock of limestone in the pit, we load it on the truck, we come out, we put it in the hole, and we wheel pack it. Good as new. The disadvantage of limestone is that it will need to be treated in the winter because it will get slippery. just like a pavement. It needs to be treated just like a pavement during the winter. But otherwise, in my personal opinion and very limited experience, I think in many cases it's better than paving, because paving, once it starts to crack, you gotta crack seal it, then you gotta chip seal it. And at some point, you're gonna tear it up and replace it. That stuff gets expensive. Mile, half mile of paving, I must say a mile is $550,000. That's a lot of money. It doesn't go very far.
Guess you're not getting any limestone with this.
Limestone though runs, we're doing, that section on Ionia Road, that's gonna cost about $170,000. That's a lot less than $550,000. Yeah.
You still gotta dust control.
Yep, you gotta grind it. Yep.
You do gotta do it in the summer too.
Yes. But that's a lot cheaper than paving.
I wanna inform the board, last year we voted to limestone Montcalm. I don't know if that's still on the radar or not, but we did vote to do it. The other thing, chip and seal Palmer would be a really good idea after we spend all that money blacktopping it this year. I don't know if you guys got that on your radar or not too, but.
Doesn't that happen 2 years after now?
2 years is about that.
Yeah.
I can't win. I should have stayed home.
Not to belabor this, but we just paid Palmer Road.
Yeah,
There's no
Yeah.
such
if you don't see it.
It's about
it
2
would be-
years after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you put this note.
Yeah. Some of us are a little sensitive about
Yeah,
Palmer Road.
that
being
is
paid.
with the road.
So, Linda, thank you very much. If anyone else has any questions, Linda, you can call the road commission. She is prompt about returning phone calls. This is on her time. She has a family life too, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's a number of recording them and that.
Part of this, we
That's
had
what
our
we call
meeting
911.
after we had our budget
Township
arrangement,
get
so
across.
we used close estimates on what the cost of graveling would be, of grinding would be, and this grade all. And then, I think we're gonna
See, 'cause John told
be
me.
responsible for part of that reconstruction of Sam and Brook. But right now, it's around $70,000 for what they recommended for graveling. Brian is about $52,000, and grade off is around $3,000. And I hope to have these posted so you folks can look at it and say, Bruce, that's crazy, why are we graveling here, we should be here. I want your input so we can get this resolved at the next meeting. So, quickly.
Could you please, when she does that Pazer report, post that online so that we can see that as well too?
You'll get us a copy of that, I'm gonna call it a Taser report.
Pacer.
I understand.
We'll get it to Bruce, and then it can be distributed from there.
Okay.
And usually what it is a map.
I've seen
And,
that,
okay.
we had it at the township before.
Yeah.
And when this intersection is reconstructed, is there a way to allocate more of your time to do speed control on Holly Highway?
Don't do that.
That's what you shall receive.
What color is your drop?
Blue.
All right. Linda, thank you.
Thank you. It's very nice to meet all of you. Thank you.
Okay, moving along. The item B, this ACH electronic fund transfer about payments and doing wages and such. We were able to entertain that tonight with Paula. Under wise wisdom and due diligence, has found that we passed this ordinance back in 2015 to do this, but no action was ever, it's my understanding, no action was ever taken. Yes, Jan Reinhardt. So, until we can get more information on that, I think we should table this and look at it. I'll get all the accompanying paperwork and the supporting documents so we can make, and find out what and why nothing was ever done. So, if I get a motion to table this, please.
Make a motion to table the ACH or the EFT.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay, Stephanie? It's been moved by Joe and seconded by Stephanie to table this ACH EFT option. Any discussion? If not, Vicki?
Okay, yes. Stephanie? Yes. Joe?
Yes.
Paula? Yes.
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, moving along. The wonderful 2025-2026 budget resolutions and general appropriations act. There's copies there. The budget is here that we met after a total of 9 hours. It contains everything that we've discussed here, and again, I'm new with this, so bear with me. We've got all the accompanying documents here, the requested budget for the coming fiscal year, the last closed year, the current year, it's a whole package, there's a lot to it. I encourage you to take it, look at it. I want your input, I want your comments. There were no wages increased in anything of the officials and such. And what we'll do, the normal process that we'll hold next meeting, have a public hearing and take public comments and such, and get it hopefully passed, and we'll be on our way. So, yes. Please, yes.
One raise, remember, correct, the sexton.
Oh, yeah, the fees, not the wages. But Greg, Terry, who is our cemetery sexton, raised his rates like by $50, and that's reflected in here as well. And again, there's copies on the table. Okay, we're gonna jump ahead and do this exemption, which was done at an earlier meeting tonight.
Oh, we're gonna do that one first, or we're gonna do the other?
No, I gotta do that last.
Oh, okay. You need to do it.
I'm sorry?
Annex or property?
No, I'm sorry, the annex, for the, not counts, the legal people.
Okay, this was, this resolution, we needed it for, because we have a handful of voters that, voted, that are in the Greenville School District. And so they are going to annex those people in so that we don't have to hold our own election. This has been done in the past. We will still have to hold ours for that, but this is so that we don't have to pay all of our election workers and everything, they'll handle our election for us, so. And the resolution, we met earlier, Bruce, Paul, and myself, and we're bringing it to you guys now to vote on to whether or not to accept the resolution to let Otisco Township, Hamilton, our handful of voters.
And those three people, you, Paul, and myself, on the election committee for the.
Yes, we're the election committee, we met earlier and, at the special meeting tonight. So we just need to know if, now we're bringing it to the board to know whether or not you guys want to accept that.
Something that's done
We've done it.
every year, so, yeah, I make a motion to accept it.
Is there a second?
I'll support.
Okay, moved by Joe and seconded by Paula to approve the annexation voting for the Greenville Public Schools like we have done in the past. Any other comments? Vicki?
Okay, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Joe?
Yes.
Paula? Yes. Bruce?
Yes.
And I'm yes.
All right. The last item was, this was processed last month, and this is poverty exemption general guidelines that have to be updated each year by Sally. When we voted on it last January, it was my mistake that it should have been a roll call vote, and we did just a voice vote. But since this, in checking this out, we can rescind this based on several factors. There is no money's been spent, no action has been taken even though it was passed, and no harm or distress will be caused by the rescinding this motion. It doesn't get filed with Sally until next month. So what we're going to do in the simplest form possible is rescind this motion tonight, and then just reintroduce it and do a roll call vote to be good. So, if I get a motion to rescind this poverty exemption resolution that we did as of January 14th, 2025, please.
Make a motion to rescind the motion for the Priority Act. January 14th, 2025.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Vicky?
Joe?
Yes.
Paula? Yes. Bruce?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Stephanie? Yes.
Okay. Then, if I could have a motion to reintroduce the same thing, and just, nothing has changed, we'll get it to Sally once it's approved, and just do a roll call vote. So if I could have another motion to accept this now, please.
To approve the property exemption resolution for 2025.
For a second? Okay. Any other comments or questions? Cares? Okay. Vicky, if we could do.
Okay, Paula? Yes. Bruce?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Stephanie? Yes. Joe?
Yes.
Five oh.
Thank you. Please. Okay, I believe that does our new business, and I welcome if anyone wants to talk. Public comment. You talk about the weather, you talk about the Lions.
It's about to get really cold, guys.
Not gonna be that bad.
I'd like to apologize for my appearance tonight, but my dermatologist and myself are working at getting rid of some sun-damaged skin cells.
Rumor has it was Linda. Okay.
Vicki, thank you for the new format for the vendor payable report. It's much better. We all appreciate it.
Johnny.
Larry, the zoning administrator, has 2 posted hours to work per week. I'm sure that sometimes he works more than that. However, that isn't even a part-time job. For the salary that Larry gets, it is ridiculous. Previous administrators were required to work 15 or so hours per week. Paula, you have been stealing from the township residents for the last 4 years. That has got to stop. A deputy is for filling in and assisting when you may have to be away for a doctor's appointment or vacation, or of course, for you, the few times a year when you are collecting taxes. We all know that your deputy is here at the hall many more hours than you are. We all know that a lot of your time is social time with your deputy. You had the phones programmed so that the clerk's phone was the only one that would ring, so that you wouldn't be bothered with it. You always had time to look for any errors that the clerk may have made. You continued to open the clerk's mail, which was unlawful. Paula, you were the one who wanted the treasurer's job. You campaigned for that job. You were the one who the residents voted in for that job, not your deputy. You were misusing your deputy, which is unlawful use of the residents' funds. It isn't right that we are paying 2 people to do one person's job. Vicki, I hope that you are not planning to misuse your deputy. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I got to respond to that.
Yeah, responding to him, you're responding to him.
Correct. I just would like to clarify some things. The person who motivated Howard to make the comment read the rules and regulations of MTA every clerk and treasurer is required to have a deputy, and every deputy's responsibilities are exactly the same as the clerk and the treasurer, except they can't vote. So to say that, make a rather slanderous comment to accuse somebody of stealing is pretty outlandish. And unless you've actually executed one of these jobs, you don't have any idea how many hours are involved, how much learning is involved, how much documentation and filing is involved.
And I can have my deputy here all the time.
Please.
I'm gonna try real hard not to address the topic
Well,
of
just stay on your focus,
what
please.
happened or what didn't happen in the past, but, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, let's just put it that way. I think it's unfair to make that kind of accusation against Paula or Vicky or anybody else. There's a lot to doing these jobs if they're done correctly. And we are trying very hard to get handles on the jobs, and at the same time, we are looking to find ways to digitize a lot of our record keeping so that we make more space and make things more functional in this building without necessarily having to grow the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Please.
Add on to that first. When I was the treasurer and I had a deputy, our deputies made $6,000 a year, including Paula, because she was the deputy treasurer. And we got an increase for the first year that they were the deputies so that they could learn. If you actually look up at MTA, what the deputies' duties are, they are to step in for the elected official in their absence. Not be there every day with them. That is not their job. That is not what they're entitled to do. That's why their salary is different. There's one elected official that the taxpayers pay and that you guys have. The salaries for them are not, $12,000 is nearly double what they made in 8 years ago. That's crazy. There's no need, I'm talking, it's my turn, I didn't interrupt you, it's my turn.
Kara, continue, please.
So, I feel that as of right now, the deputy's salary is higher than what it should be, period. Our board gave them an increase for the first year they were there so that they could go to training and they could learn their jobs. And Paula can attest to that because she made that $6,000 when she was my deputy treasurer. And then it went down after that because they didn't need to be there. It's my job to do the taxes. It's Linda's job to do the clerk. Now it's Vicky and Paula. They need to be here. They need to be doing their job. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
I do have a couple other things I would like to talk about. Again, I already spoke about the treasure report. If you could please look into that, that would be, I mean, again, it's,
My word is golden.
it's our money with that. Text messages. I am under the understanding that there's a group text message going around this hall. Is there possibly a group text message with Vicky and Christy and Paula and Stephanie and Angie going about the day-to-day business? Anybody want to answer that for me?
I'll leave that, and that's up to them.
No group text message with any of you. No group text message, Stephanie? No? Okay, because I mean, I can FOIA it, and text messages are not able to be deleted from the phone. So if I have to FOIA it and I can't get an answer there, I mean, the police can look into that, because it's quorum. If the three of you have a group text message, it's illegal. You have to include the public in on that, and we get to see those messages. Lastly, I have a question about vetting paperwork. I was thrown under the bus, I was berated, and all kinds of cold things when I left because of paperwork that I took out. Vicki, you're coming in as an elected official to a clerk's position. Did you vet any of the paperwork that Linda took out?
There wasn't any.
Linda, did you remove paperwork when you left here?
I took my stuff, but.
So you did take stuff. Your things, whatever they wanted to take out of the office. So, that's all I wanted to clarify was that there was documents taken from here that was not vetted. Thank you.
Anyone else?
microphone.
So scared.
I don't think I need a microphone.
I have two things. One thing is personal, one thing is not. I would like to see some recording. Jonah does a great job. And
Yes.
there are a lot of times that a lot of these people are busy, but when she does post them, the interaction and the questions and the stuff that some of the people bring come from her videos. So when you miss out a lot, and it seems like when you don't do that and nobody's here, things aren't transparent. My mother-in-law came to pay her taxes today, and she was told it was because of liability issues. I can't imagine that on page 8 of the Open Meetings Act, there's a thing that addresses everything when it comes to sound, video, digital, analog, recording required, not required, things that you should, shouldn't do. It's all in the Open Meetings Act. City of Grand Rapids has it. The House of Representatives has it. Tons and tons of Sparta has it. I could list probably 24 places, very local, that have it.
Okay.
It's easy to post. If you go onto the City of Grand Rapids website, you can see links to YouTube, links to television, links to Facebook Live. So it's all streamed in one platform. So if I'm 90 years old sitting at home and I kind of know how to use a computer, I can still watch it on TV. If I'm 25 years old at work, I can stream it on Facebook. I can stream it on YouTube. It's about transparency, and as some people like to say, truth. You never have anything to hide. When I look back at meeting minutes, they're vague. They're very vague. Ridiculously vague. I would like to know what the people in the township have to say when they have their 3 and 5 minutes. I don't. I used to, when you would go back probably 3 years, you could see this person spoke, that person spoke, whatever. You could read those things. Now, 2 people spoke. That's what it said for last minute. Who spoke? I don't know what they talk about. I'd like to know. Maybe it's a question I have too that got answered, now I don't know. That's on a clerk thing. That's your responsibility to record those notes. Everybody wants to know what, I want to know what James is thinking sometimes. He's allowed. I want to know what's going on.
Good point.
And it's very non-transparent, and it's very, City of Bellevue is dealing with the same issue. And they're dealing with the same issue of mistrust, misguidance, and tons of similar issues. You're a new board, you're a younger board, you have an opportunity to make an impact, and by telling people, well, there's a liability when government officials considerably higher than you do it.
Commissioners do.
It's not, Court 64A does it every day. Judge Schaefer is on there. Judge Vogt is on there. When I worked in Court News in Ionia, I had a very long conversation with Judge Vogt and Judge Schaefer about it, because a lot of people were upset when they would see their name posted on social media because they have to go to court for their delinquency. They don't have rights. You don't have a right to sit here and have privacy. You didn't sign up for that. When you go home, you have that right. But in here, you don't. So to say there's a liability, there really isn't. And honestly, it's probably more to protect yourselves. Anything you say, you have a record of. You can go back and say, I never said that. There's been many a times where I hear somebody, does say something, and then somebody will completely rephrase what he says, and he didn't say that. So, it's honestly to protect yourself. So I really would like to see more investigation and maybe traction on that. The second thing is a personal thing. On Saturday, I think a lot of community members close their eyes on what's going on in businesses. We left work at 2, and at 2:30 we had vandalism in the afternoon. We were the only shop. I am so close to Otisco Township. It took 22 minutes for a cop to show up. It was so frustrating. I verbally assaulted the criminal and he got away. But Josh at Premier and Juanita and Tom at Bellevue Auto Repair are having the same issues. So if you're driving by and you see their clothes on and people are walking around the lot, maybe call and have it scoped out. Shannon has no issue in driving by because our insurance premiums went up 118% over the claims we've had to make in the last 3 years. And for a small business with 2 employees, that's drastic. It is drastic. And at 2 in the afternoon, with the amount of traffic that goes on 44, one would think they would see something. But nobody's saying anything. So, thank you.
Thank you. Desmond?
I appreciate Larry, and I kind of want to just say, he may be here 2 hours for you, but ask him about the time he's here doing his job, not for you. So, just, a grain of sand here, just don't jump on Larry too hard, because he's my buddy.
This baboon.
Yeah.
I sat on this board for 12 years. And all the time I sat on it, there was all these people in the audience that knew more than the people sitting up there. And they always had a word to say to all of us about how bad we were doing such a bad job. Because they knew more than anybody. Anybody in this world, they knew more than anybody. And it was always something. Always. Every meeting there was something. And then now when people are talking, now people are saying, well, okay, my husband got up and spoke. She referred to it like I told him to do that. I did not tell him to do that. He wrote that up. He asked me to read it. I read it. That was it. But I never asked him to stand up here and say anything to anybody. Because I can do my own talking. But I will tell you that I really do think that there is a misuse. And I do not think that deputies do have to be here all the time. I did my job for 12 years. And my deputy was not here every hour I was here. And I did my work. I did my own filing. I did my own stuff. I worked maybe from 8:30 in the morning until 4 at night, 3 nights a week, but I did it. And I got paid the same amount as other people did it, well, as the treasurer. We get the same amount of money. But because it was my job, it was my responsibility. It is the treasurer. The people that are elected by the people are elected by the people. And those people feel that the people that they elected are going to be doing their jobs. And so I have to say that I do not agree with always saying that your deputy has to be here to do it. That isn't the way it works. And it's not the way it works in most townships. Most of your deputies hardly ever do anything in most of these small townships.
Okay.
I mean, they don't. My deputy never made the kind of money that the deputies are making. Okay? She made, most money she ever made is when we had a bunch of elections. And she was kind of, I put her in charge of doing the election stuff.
Which is a crazy time.
Yes, and so that's what she did. And so she got more time then, but she never, I see what the people are getting paid now, she never got checks like that. Never. Because it was my job. And I felt like I was the person that was supposed to be doing it.
Thanks, Linda. Yeah.
Just a standing ovation just for you.
I got a quick question. Looking at this, where it says general fund, 1,098,100 or 98,167. Does that include the $240-some thousand from the COVID money from last year?
Yep. You know what page you're on, Jeff?
I don't know. It's just says resolution 2025 General Appropriations Act.
Bear with me.
Just couple pages.
Oh, okay. Bear with me.
What page?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Jeff, what was your question again?
That over $1 million, does that include 240,000 some odd dollars of the COVID money?
It's about halfway. I don't know, Jeff, but.
The treasurer should know.
You
have to switch your accounts and all that, I remember that.
No, I mean, is the,
Yeah, pass down.
I'll be very honest with you. this is obviously my first budget. Del Pike was a huge help to me, and we've worked through it. I don't know, but I will, before you leave, give me your cell number, and I'll have an answer for you tomorrow.
Because I was just curious on where that money's at, and where's all that grant, the CD money that they've been saving up since 1956 or wherever it's at. What's happened to all that money?
It's there, but again, that's, I'm not the treasurer, the clerk, I'll find out for you.
Okay, I'm just curious if that's all what that $1 million is all from, both of those, or where's it at?
Well, some of that would be bank accounts and CDs, but we don't get involved in that.
No, that's fine. Any other questions?
How are we gonna start holding the county kind of accountable for not making their contractors follow the specifications? She just said right here that they caught them not following the specifications and continued to use them until the very end, and they had to fire them and re-fit it out.
When I met with her, she acknowledged, because people have raised that concerns before, that they were supposed to do true passes, and they only did one. Half the time they did one.
That's not even in their specifications though.
Half of their holes or whatever little fan things were plugged, short of.
We paid for it, right?
Oh, absolutely, and you folks approved the millage. And that's part of the reason why some of the Firecom, the, Linda, I'm gonna have EMS, who knows that we have a 32-page contract for life EMS that is automatically renewed and never gets, canned unless we give them writing, and is tied with a CPI price increase. So they got 3.7% last year, but that's off track. But
So how do we as a township make sure that we're getting our money's worth?
I know, that's my goal, is to make sure that on all these contracts that we have, that we are getting a fair deal and are bang for our buck. I expressed my concern with Linda, at my last meeting, that I had a lot of complaints about Zam Road. I had a ton of complaints about grading and graveling, and a ton of complaints about brine.
Yep.
We're gonna spend almost $52,000 on brine this year. And granted, we approved the millage, but I've got to get my bearings on this and somehow to hold it from the fire. And if they're not doing it, she's gonna know it.
Thank you.
It's nonsense, I mean.
Well, I just
that's
wanna
a
get
lot
ahead
of
of this,
money.
to get ahead of the ZAM problem. I mean, has any township done any joint ventures with the county to get something done?
I don't know, that is a,
The township has, multiple times.
Yeah.
This township has.
So why are we not proposing any of that to them?
I know when I talked, I spent 20 minutes on Zam Road, because that is one of my concerns. Some young kid in a heavy rainstorm is gonna come flying down that road.
It's gonna end up being me, my son, my wife.
Absolutely, and it's gonna get killed, and everybody's gonna say, yeah, we should have done something.
Yeah.
No kidding. But she estimated the other day between $550,000 and $700,000 a mile to rebuild Zam Road.
Their estimates that they have online are actually $1 million a mile. It's all on the county's website.
8 years ago, to do that mile stretch at Ingalls, it was 300.
To do a reshape and everything, there's no way it's not possible.
8 years ago it was.
There's
We
no
paid
way.
it.
That's what it
what our
is.
bill
Just to
was.
pave it, just to pave it.
They redid the whole road, that 1 mile stretch.
So
from
what they're
here.
talking about was dam,
Yes.
it's not just redoing the
Right.
top. You gotta get this, you've gotta get all of
It's
it
a
out.
crappy clay bed underneath, it's just
Absolutely.
a paved.
It's retaining moisture and
it gets a huge amount of truck traffic, it gets a huge amount of agricultural traffic. and it's a
I'm just
busy
afraid that
road.
we're gonna push for this, and then the county's gonna end up putting something down, wasting $300,000.
No, I was adamant that
And-
this Band-Aid approach to Zam Road,
Exactly.
we can't do it.
Exactly.
And
And then with the shoe tree, okay, I've
It's
never
been
even heard about it.
$500 to cut us, I'd go out there this afternoon and cut the damn.
Yeah, for
And the bats-
5,700, holy crap.
The next thing, you're endangered bats, and the next thing, we gotta get them done by tax day. Are they paying taxes? But again, I don't wanna.
I mean, they're just trying to get their money, I get that,
But
but
her hands are tied with
And
all
I
these
totally
stupid
understand that.
federal regulations and state regulations that you can't go to the bathroom without a yellow coat on.
yeah, I just think that there's gonna be a big fuss when everybody actually knows
But
about
then,
that.
again, that's some of the state is directing the townships that they don't want any more of these Y intersections or these goofy curves like at Potter's Road and Firestein Road, in that area there. I mean, in Keene Township.
I feel like there's better ways to spend that money, and there's ways to work that system around to where we can move the road over just a little bit, so that we can, continue down, doing a complete reshape. And there's other avenues there that we can get that money.
And you can look at it, and generally speaking, the county will say, okay, we'll put this much money into it, and then either Otisco has to come up with it, or it doesn't get
Or
done,
it
if we don't have the money.
Or
But
apply
what
to
I was
grants.
wondering is, could we ask them to look into some grants? Okay,
Absolutely.
that one's a safety grant, but can we look into some type of special grant for ZAM? Then they put in their 20%, and then what does Otisco come up with? We
Right.
did that for the Long Lake Bridge. We budgeted for that for 2 years. I put money in a CD to pay for that. There was a grant, the county paid for some of it, and then we paid for some of it. We paid $100,000 of that Long Lake Bridge, and we budgeted for it. But if there's any way to get a grant for ZAM, then yes, that's how it works. Exactly.
I just want to get ahead of some of these problems and get more proactive about,
Yes, I agree.
just wasting money.
Yep.
Yeah, let's not do it.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
I just want to comment on, along with that thing, it's gonna get harder and harder to get federal money for grants. With what the administration is doing right now, these departments are going to be gutted. And so I believe at the county level, when you sat here and listened to her say they had a $12 million deficit that they have to pay into. So they're going to look and find every single way that they can find federal money that is available to them to kind of offset the cost, right? Because
the million.
Right, because they have to do it. And if we lose a shoe tree, I love it. The kids I live with love it. We're gonna go throw shoes on it this weekend to say goodbye to it. But at the end of the day, it's just a tree. And if we can get a road fixed and it can free up some money.
It's not fixing the road though, it's only fixing that.
But if it can free up some money, because even if they're gonna pave all of that, maybe that's gonna be something they're gonna do anyway.
300 feet, she just said.
But I'm saying that's still 300 feet, but if they go later on to do the rest of Zam Road, it's gonna have to go to that point, right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
all those maple trees here in front of where Nick Cone just bought, the Johnson's farm.
And 80% of that's gonna be covered now. She did a great job, and she sat here, she listened to everybody's, questions, and she answered them what I thought was really thorough. That road commission has been through hell, well, the road department, right? For the last 5 years, they've been in upheaval. So
A lot of that is mismanagement.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. So the fact that she sat here and had these answers, I think that's a pretty good start of that accountability that you're asking for. How we,
An example is to get rid of the previous man that was there, that was fired from another position as a city manager. They paid him $10,000 to get him out the door.
So I'm saying,
Anyway.
that's part of but that's a part of the accountability, right? Having her here, I appreciate that, because I thought it was really super informative, and I thought it was really helpful. So I appreciate that.
There's $1 million that is coming out of our road budget for the county that's going to pay that back. So we are still, we're paying for it twice.
Basically, the county millage that we're all paying in.
That's how Michigan's set up, unfortunately, the township, the county, and all that. So, I mean, that's not a township, that's not something that we can really have a lot of control over, because that's the way that Michigan is set up. Right, Michigan is set up in a way that the townships have.
Move to adjourn.
That ability. So there's really not a lot of wiggle room for townships, and that's the way they designed it.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna move on to board comments.
I got one more. I've never said anything yet. Sorry. I'll make it quick.
Please.
Mainly is the Facebook live streaming. This whole township wants it. Okay? We gotta do something about it. Cause no offense, this thing, as much as she's trying to do on, you can't hear a damn thing on this, what you guys are saying. You guys are all soft-spoken up there. Gotta have a mic up there or something. And it's lagging. So it was cutting in and out for the first 20 minutes when I was trying to race here. I'm not gonna tell you how fast I was going. But
That's for the officers.
but no. So with that being said, a few things. I know you guys are going through general appropriation things. Everybody knows where I stand on budgets and pay and raises. There's rumors going around that you guys are going to try to pass raises for you guys as deputies.
It's absolutely dead not true.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
If anything, a wage was cut.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to make sure. I heard rumor I heard, and I want to make sure it was squashed. So thanks for taking that off on that. I'm just going through a list right now. Your zoning officer. He's not doing diddly squat in this township. I've had emails sent to him. He hasn't responded. He hasn't even looked into them. Going on over 4 months. That's just me.
Okay.
He's cleaning the township.
And in my defense of that too is you got your zoning officer doing 3 jobs. If you can't do one job, you can't do the other 2.
Well, I mean, he has 4, really.
4 now. That's news to me.
Not here, he works for the.
That's news to me. Don't have Facebook live streaming here, so I can't keep on tabs what these guys are doing.
No, he works at the school.
So, and the meeting minutes are very vague.
Continue.
You guys got a new sign, so be it. It's COVID money, probably. That's really it. I'm glad to know that the raises are not happening and done business. But Facebook Live, please. I drove 4.5 hours here. I'm going to drive 4.5 hours when I leave. Wouldn't have to do that if I could see what's happening here.
Please don't speak. All right, board comments. Stephanie?
Get any, put that up next one.
All right. Sirens. Emergency sirens.
Actually, I'd like to thank the clerk department for looking into the shares right over the deadline. Make sure that we met it, and I also showed that we're gonna be township that was unaware of the good policy on that. So thank you. To be called basically, or to be called out and said that I'm stealing from the township, I think totally if it's your opinion, you state that it's your opinion, but please don't state it as a fact.
The sisters are married to the same voice.
That's all.
I'll find out. It's not, it doesn't matter.
Do you have any comments?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna share 2 things just quickly. Linda did not touch on this, but it's just a polite reminder, it is a state law, not a township ordinance, not a county ordinance, to not haul your snow across the road. And if you have any need reference, and they will start to crack down on that, even though we haven't got a lot of snow, but we'll get more snow coming. Secondly, again, not to belabor this, but I had some comments that, why are we having the fire department come? Are we getting rid of our fire department? None of that is true. I want these people to come and talk like I did Linda tonight, so we are all far more better informed. And this came as a text from a newspaper person who said, I like how you are having special speakers attend your township board meetings and give relevant updates. Those will make for educational and informative gatherings. There is no conspiracy theory. I just want to, as much as we can, before we go on to these other issues, these people, we have big contracts with them. I want to know what the hell's going on. Do we get enough bang for our buck? Can we improve? Can they improve? How do we work together better? And then lastly, I got a gentleman, he's 89 years old, who said, was commenting on our job, or doing good jobs here as officers, not to toot our own horn rather, but it was good to see an article in the Daily News on January 17th, 2025, that was positive about a local township. All I'll say in summary, we are not perfect. 3/5 of this board is new. I am trying my damnedest, as is everyone else. You may not agree with everything or how they operate and such, but they are at least trying. And there's some things we can definitely improve. Nothing against the previous administration, but there's some valleys and some rough roads that never got resolved, and I'm going to try to work on that. You folks know me. I'm not a BSer. We'll get to the chase. I want to listen to your inputs, and we'll try to move forward. And I appreciate your inputs. If I didn't want you to talk, wouldn't be happy. I want to hear you guys. So, that's all for me. Motion to adjourn. You have to repeat it then.
Make motion to adjourn.
Seconded? Any discussion? Vicky?
Stephanie? Joe?
Yes.
Paula? Yes. Bruce?
Yes. Thank you all.